When you open your mouth, do you sound like Jephthah when he was giving the history lesson and sounding really smart and, articulating his point well? Or do you sound like Jephthah when it's like you did not think before you spoke? Because if you would have thought about that before you said it, you would have never said it. Or when we speak, do we give ourselves away like the people of Ephraim did when they spoke the word that they didn't say in the correct manner and gave themselves away? What I mean by that is, do you give away what's really in your heart whenever you speak? I said this earlier about what happens whenever you're angry. Do you say things in the right way? Maybe you're giving away how, mean you really are inside when you give voice to your thoughts and feelings when you're angry. Do you give away that darkness that you have inside of you or the dirtiness that you have inside of you when you talk? When you begin to speak, do people see who you really are? And who you really are is not very good. If that's the case, then what do we need to do? We need to work on who we are inside, right? We need to make sure that the person inside is a good person so that when we voice who we really are, then it is a good person. We don't want to give away who we really are inside if who we are inside is not good. And so we need to work on that. And that's what it says in Matthew 12:34-37. This is Jesus talking, and he says, "You're a brood of vipers. How can you, being evil, speak good things? If you're a bad person, you can't say anything good. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks." So our heart, what's in our heart, overflows out of our mouths. No matter how hard we try to keep our mouths shut, eventually, when we open them, if we have a lot of hate within us, if we have a lot of anger within us, if we have a lot of bitterness within us, whatever bad is within us, eventually it's going to come out of our mouths if we allow it to stay there. And so we need to uproot those things within our own hearts, get rid of them so that what we speak can be good. And so out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good things. And an evil man out of the evil treasure brings forth evil things. But I say to you, for every idle word that a man speaks, they shall give account of it in the day of judgment. By your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. This is kind of concerning, right? You'll be held accountable for every idle word that you speak. Everything that you say that is, not of use to anyone. Everything that you say that is not productive, that doesn't help, that doesn't build up, that doesn't strengthen, you'll be held accountable for that. And then you'll either be justified, you'll either be deemed good, or you'll be condemned, deemed bad, deemed evil for the things that you say. And so what we do there in that situation is our answer is not to not speak, or even really to think before we speak. Our answer is to fill ourselves with goodness so that when we speak, that is what comes out of our mouths, so that we will be justified by our words and not condemned. And then James 3:1-12 says, Let not many of you become teachers, knowing that you will receive a stricter judgment. For we all stumble in many things. If anyone doesn't stumble in word, then he's a perfect man, able also to bridle the whole body. So he's like, no one's going to be perfect. You're not going to be able to keep a hold on your tongue always. And then he says, indeed, we put bits in the horses' mouths that they might obey us, that we can turn their whole body. We turn their whole body by controlling their mouth. Look at ships. Although they are so large and driven by fierce winds, they are turned by a very small rudder wherever the pilot desires. And he said, this is what the tongue is like. It boasts of great things. See how great a forest a little fire kindles? So just a teeny tiny fire can burn up a whole forest. It starts with little things, and it can change the course of huge things. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. The tongue is so set among our members that it defiles the whole body, and it is set on fire by hell. For every kind of beast and bird and reptile and creature of the sea is tamed and can be tamed by men, but no man can tame the tongue. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. With it we bless our God and Father, and with it we curse men who have been made in the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceed blessings and curses. My brothers, this should not be so. Does a spring send forth fresh water and bitter from the same opening? Can a fig tree, my brothers, bear olives, or grapevine bear figs? Thus no spring can yield both salt and fresh water. So he's trying to say that, if you can control your tongue, you can control your whole body. But we can't. We can't get full control of our tongues. And so we need to be just really aware. And so that again says that if we can't control our tongue, then we need to make sure that we control what is inside of us, the type of person that we are, so that whatever comes out of our mouth, it will be good instead of bad. Because the tongue is, it controls who we are. And he says, you use the tongue to speak blessings and curses, and that shouldn't be so. Salt water and fresh water can't come from the same place. And he says good and bad shouldn't both come from the same place, but they do. And so you need to, try to fill your words all good so that you're not a contradictory type of person. Now, Ecclesiastes 5:1-7 says, walk prudently when you go into the house of God, and draw near to hear rather than to give the sacrifice of fools, because they don't know that they do evil. Do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter anything hastily before God. For God is in heaven and you on earth, therefore let your words be few. So now that we've established that we really need to work on the heart even more than the mouth, we do need to work on the mouth. We need to work on, saying too much, sounding like we don't know what we're talking about, and, speaking impulsively. And so I want to read you several very quick Psalms and Proverbs, and then we'll close. These are just things for you to, figure out where you struggle and what verses you might need to memorize, because these are very short verses. Psalm 52, 2-4. Your tongue devises destruction like a sharp razor, working deceitfully. You love evil more than you love good. You love lying rather than speaking righteousness. You love all devouring words, you deceitful tongue. Psalm 140, verse 3. They sharpen their tongues like a serpent. The poison of asps is under their lips. Psalm 141:3. Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth, and keep watch over the door of my lips. That is a wonderful thing to pray. Perfect thing to memorize. God, please, gatekeep my words. Proverbs 10:19-21. In the multitude of words, sin is not lacking. But he who restrains his lips is wise. The tongues of the righteous is choice silver. The heart of the wicked is worth little. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for the lack of wisdom. Proverbs 13:3. He who guards his mouth preserves his life, but he who opens wide his lips shall have destruction. Proverbs 15:1-4. A soft answer turns away wrath, and a harsh word stirs up anger. So do you want to answer softly and, quash the anger, or do you want to stir it up with a word of hatred? The tongue of the wise uses knowledge rightly, but the mouth of fools pours forth foolishness. So if you're not very smart, you start talking, it's going to show. The eyes of the Lord are on every place, keeping watch on the evil and the good. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the spirit. Proverbs 16:23-24, the heart of the wise teaches his mouth and adds learning to his lips. Pleasant words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the bones. Teach your mouth, add learning to your lips. Let your words be as sweet as honeycomb and let them bring health to your bones. Proverbs 17:27-28, he who has knowledge spares his words, and a man of understanding is of calm spirit. But even a fool is counted wise when he holds his peace. When he shuts his lips, he's considered perceptive. So if you're not very smart, you'll look way smarter if you don't open your mouth. That's what he's saying. If you're not smart enough to know what you're talking about, just keep your mouth shut and people will think that you're just listening. They'll think that you're learning and you know what's going on here. Proverbs 18:6-8. A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calls for blows. A fool's mouth is destruction, and his lips are a snare to his soul. The words of a talebearer are like hasty trifles, and they go down into the inmost parts of the body. And then down in verse 21 it says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. If you love life, you will eat the fruit of life, and that is what you will speak. If you love death, then you will eat hatred and bad things, and you will speak that. Proverbs 25:15, by long forbearance a ruler is persuaded, and a gentle tongue breaks a bone. So what he's trying to say there is if you are kind and you keep at it and you're persistent, then you will break people down. You'll have strength just by speaking the right way. That gives power to your words. That's why it says breaks a bone. Shows you how much power your words can have. Proverbs 27:2, let another man praise you, and don't let your own mouth, a stranger and not your own lips. So that just says don't be bragging about yourself, right? Let somebody else say how good you are. Nobody wants to hear it from you. Proverbs 31:26, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. So you women, this is what we need to be striving for. When you open your mouth, you want to sound wise. Let the law of kindness be on your lips. The law of kindness doesn't just mean say kind things. It means that you are bound to saying the kind things. Let yourself be bound to saying only kind things. This is hard, right? This is hard. We know this. That is why it says no man can bridle the tongue, because we're never going to accomplish this fully. But it is definitely something for us to all strive for and practice until we die, right? Some of us, it will take more practice than others. I am included in that.